Derek Myers, the teammate of Gerald West. Oh, and the 98 of Jerry Glenn's just gone round. I think that was off the bumper of Logan Lansford. And that is going to give the advantage to Gerald West here on the outside line. But can they hold it? That is the question. Did they make their move too soon? Thomas Harmon sitting there just in behind them. He moves up. Derek blocks. He moves down. Derek blocks again. And we have contact. Derek Myers goes round. The win is going to Thomas Harmon. Thomas Harmon wins this race. P2 goes to Brian Harris. P3 to Logan Lansford. What an incredible... Oh man, he could turn up because the next race run is in the race, and you never know what can happen. Rest of the race, you find yourself having out exactly how to drive these cars. We'll let you go, man. You want to give a quick shout out to his one. Little bit of a surprise, but he gained. Hello everyone and welcome to the historic Monza Raceway for the TWR 200 or 120, whatever it is. 120. There we go. Welcome to the TWR 120 here from the Monza Raceway. Live and exclusive on the Aussie Sim Commentator channel. As Frank has had a horrible time here. But that's right. We took our NASCARs and we took them overseas. And it's just all shenanigans. It's a very difficult track for these cars to learn. So to make it a little bit easier, we've taken out a couple of the chicanes. So we're doing the Monza road course, no chicanes, and all the horsepower in the world. And these things are a handful around here. Currently leading the way is the 78 Brian Pizzicami with a 135.661. Second is TJ Crandon. Third is Kyle Kraus. Fourth, James Watson. And fifth is Jonas Marquez. The TWR is, of course, Team Watson Racing. And they so kindly provided us a setup to use for this race. That's the Team Watson Racing 120k. Because we're only doing about 120 kilometers around this track. Which equivalates to about 22 laps. There is James Watson as we speak. Jonas Marquez going into the Curva de Grande. Or the Grand Curve. I think it's also called something else as well. But let's see if we can jump on board with someone. Kyle Kraus has gone back to the top, a 35.5. Damn, that is flying around here. So let's jump on board with Frank. He's just started his lap. At least I thought he just started his lap. He did. I was still on replay mode. As he goes through what would be the first chicane into Curva de Grande. There's a very fast corner in these cars. There's a very, very brave track marshal. Into what would be the second chicane. Turns into a little curve. To Lesmo 1. Second gear corner. Oh, he got loose, but he saved it. And to Lesmo 2. And down the back straight here. The second of two DRS zones on this track. Not that we have DRS. Now, down to second gear for the Ascari chicane. Oh, and he took a lot of curve on the left there. He's hitting all of the sleepy policemen. And I think he's done damage there. That's going to be his lap done. So let's jump back to the 72 of TJ Crandon, who's about to hit the Ascari chicane. And that's a lot better, a lot smoother looking. Just kissing the curbs. Now he's going to get all the way down to Parabolica. Oh, and he's gone too deep. Completely missed the Parabolica corner. See if Jonas can do it. And Jonas takes the Parabolica just fine. And he will finish off the lap for us. There we go. It took us 3 drivers to get through a lap of Monza. A couple of interesting facts about this track. The original layout, which includes the banked oval, is exactly 10 kilometers in length. And the banking was destroyed in World War II and rebuilt in the 50s. And when they rebuilt it, they didn't quite do it to the specifications of the original banked oval. So they had to redesign the Parabolica corner to make the track length exactly 10 kilometers once more. And it was only used a few times for Formula One competition until a horrifying accident, which unfortunately killed a couple of spectators, happened. And then racing on the oval was pretty much banned for everything except for the Monza 1000. And then once the Monza 1000 stopped running the banked oval, it's only now used for special rally events, but they only use the lower half of the banking. So there is your history lesson for today. Now let's go back to focusing on crashes, see who we can see going around the track. There's Kyle Kraus, current number 1 time sitter, and the camera's probably just going to jump around a lot because the iRacing panics a little bit when you go straight through the first chicane, even though this layout knows that there's no chicane there. Oh, and Kyle's got it wrong going through Ascari. There is only about 5.5 minutes left here in practice now. And to those of you out there wondering, yes, a pit party was attempted. And attempt is a very strong word. But there is your ticker for the racing here. Yeah, I was going to try and make this a little bit bigger. Probably about as big as I can make it. Now we're looking at Kyle Kraus, who's behind Corey Williamson. Williamson, who's currently sitting in 11th with a 39.4. And it looks like Williamson's gone around. Or at least had a very loose moment. Oh, now he's in the fence. Just saw that in the background of the shot. So we only have 11 cars out there at the moment, vying for positions. 12 people in the server altogether, 1.5k soft. That's Kraus, Champo, Pizzakemi, Watson, Crampton, Marquez, Horton, Hernandez, Isaacson, Masia, and Williamson as your entire field of 11. Just about 2.5 minutes to go. If you're not on track already, then you're going to miss out on getting a lap in. See, a lot of cars just sitting there in the pits. I mean, honestly, personally, I would be trying to get in as much track time as possible. There's Juan Jonathan Hernandez. 'Cause, 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 ' He's just going out to try and make a cold tyre run. Because there is still enough time for that. Travis Massia in the 13 car. Gladiator sponsorship. Oh, as Hernandez has gone off. That's the problem of cold tyres. Very easy to lock up and go off the track. And Massia has done the exact same thing. But it looks like he's done it coming out of Curva de Grande, which means he was trying to carry too much speed through there. Here's Matt Horton in the 89 car. He's just trying to get out there and get used to this thing on cold tyres. He's currently sitting in 7th. There's our top time at the moment, Kyle Kraus. And he has not improved on it. Chris Champeau in a 92. And who is that? That's Matt Horton. He's gone off the track at the first Lesmo. But we are now within a minute left until the end of practice, so we are going to go to a quick commercial break, and when we come back we will have the grid set for the Team Watson Racing 120, so make sure you guys stay tuned. And we are back here for the TWR 120 right here from the Monza Raceway, and the grid has been sorted. Sitting on the pole will be the 39 car of James Watson. Let's see if I can get a better view, and I am not going to get a better view. Wow, these camera angles suck. NP2 will be the 92 of Chris Champeau. P3 will be the 7 of Carl Kraus. P4 will be the 72 of TJ Crampton. P5 is the 24 of Frank Isaacson. P6 will be the 88 of Jonathan Hernandez. P7 will be the 13 of Travis Massier. P8, the 64 of Jonas Marquez. P9, the 89 of Matt Horton. P10, the 78 of Brian Pizzicami. And then the 81 of Corey Williamson will be propping up the field from the back in the 81 car. Just waiting for all the cars to get onto the grid. And it looks like we're just missing Horton and Williamson at the minute. They should be back here behind the 13 car. And it looks like they're not going to make it to the grid. So that's interesting. But here we go, the pace car is off. Just a short pace lap here. Quick trip through the Ascari chicane and then into the Parabolica. Now the first start is on green, and if we get a restart, which I highly doubt, it will be on the leader as soon as the pace car hits the pit lane, I would assume. We've got 22 laps of this man-made hell known as the Monza Raceway, or the Autodromo Nazionale Monza. Here we go. See all the officials strewn across the track in various locations. Pace car is going to make the hard right turn to head into the pit lane. And here we go. Green flag is out. We are off and racing here for the Team Watson Racing setups 120k from the Monza Raceway. And you can see James Watson battling it out with Chris Champeau going into turn number 1, the Curva de Grande. And it looks like he's going to hold the advantage for now, but will he maintain it going through what would normally be the second chicane? In fact, he's got him cleared. There's a little bit of side-by-side action towards the back. Lots of curb on the first time of asking. Very dangerous on cold tires to do stuff like that. It looks like, for the most part, everyone making it through pretty safely. Looks like Matt Horton's just crawled out of the pits. He wanted to start from the pit lane just to make sure he didn't get involved in anything. As we go thundering down the back straight for the first time underneath the banked oval section. There it is right there. Into the Ascari chicane. Another one of the tricky spots. Second gear corners. And again, for the most part, it looks like most people making it through. Oh, and we've got one gone. That was the 92 of Chris Champeau. He got loose coming out of the Ascari chicane and he smashed it into the fence. He's going to have to go to the pits to get that one fixed. But here goes James Watson now. He will lead the first lap here over TJ Crampton and Kyle Kraus. We're going to set the camera to focus on crashes here a little bit, just to see what we can see around the track. Chris Champeau has gone into the pits. As to my understanding that Corey Williamson, it turns out he had some troubles with his passport and he's getting deported back to America. And by America, I mean Canada, because he's Canadian. But it's still James Watson leading away from this man, TJ Crampton. Although James got it wrong in the first Lesmo. And TJ Crampton now right up on his tail as they come through the second Lesmo. It's very easy to make tiny little mistakes around this track. Especially with how big and heavy these cars are. They're quite cumbersome when it comes to trying to run around this track. And this track is where I made my open wheel car debut as the 88 of Jonathan Hernandez gets it all kinds of wrong in the Ascari chicane, and at the same time he made Frank Isaacson make a mistake. So Frank Isaacson lost P5 to Brian Pizzicami, and now look at Brian Pizzicami go, he's all over the tail of Hernandez. Hernandez taking the defensive line to the right side of the track. At the same time, Travis Massia also making a move on Frank Isaacson, and Brian Pizzicami just went from 6th to 4th in the matter of about 500 meters. It's a little bit longer than that, but we'll call it 500 meters. But James Watson still leading the way from TJ Crampton. Crampton right up on his tail. He's not letting him get away. Crampton was one of the more consistent drivers throughout all of practice. And he currently holds the fastest lap of the race. We go back to look through the field at the cars going through Curva de Grande. Good little way the cars bounce going through what would be the second chicane. That bit of tarmac is not set up to be raced on. But again, TJ Crampton all over the tail of James Watson. He doesn't want to let him get away. Because if he builds a little bit of a gap over TJ, then TJ will not be able to fight back. As it looks like the timing and the scoring system's going a little bit wonky in some places around this track. We'll just have to keep an eye on that a little bit. Now let's see through the parabolica here for the third time. What kind of a run out of the corner can TJ Crampton get? Because one of the best overtaking opportunities will be on this main straightaway. And this is such a wide bit of tarmac because back in the day, they would put a line of cones down the center of the track. So that separated the oval layout from the road course layout. And here goes the overtaking maneuver into Curva de Grande. And it looked like Crampton backed out of that one. He didn't want to push too hard too early. Didn't want to risk wrecking James. And James has actually opened up a bit of a gap here. It was just about nothing, and now it's out to about 0.3 of a second. Now these cars can draft that back up pretty quickly. But it's all about trying to pick and choose where you make your overtakes and how you try and make them stick. And you definitely can't count out that 7 of Kyle Kraus back there in third. He will just be sitting there waiting in the wings as James Watson's actually done the fastest lap of the race now. A 35.727. And as the tyres warm up and the track rubber's in, these times are just going to get faster and faster, especially as the fuel load burns off. Now, I'm only expecting these guys to have to make one pit stop, be around lap 11, since that would be the halfway point, the even tyre and fuel strategy. And that would be the one that I would suggest would work. But we'll wait and see. So we head on to lap number 5. Looks like Crampton is not going to be close enough to try and make the overtake this time into Curva de Grande. You see the cars are on edge. They're just about sliding their way through curve at the Grande, which is also, you know, opposite way to what these cars would normally turn. As Watson is just so quick going over that second chicane. He gained another couple of tenths going through it, but Crampton faster in other sectors of the track, and he'll look at pulling that gap in a little bit here. Oh, and Crampton's made a mistake in the Ascari chicane. And that's going to allow Watson to spread his legs here a little bit and really build up this gap. It's also going to bring Kyle Kraus back into this battle a little bit. 2 seconds is the gap now between our first and second place drivers. Oh, and TJ's made another mistake. He's gone too deep into the parabolica, and he's made contact with the tyre barrier. That could lead to damage on this car. You see a little bit of fender damage on the left front. And this is just a couple of laps after I was saying about how consistent of a driver he was throughout all of practice. So now it's going to be James Watson leading away from Kyle Kraus. TJ Crampton third and Brian Pizzicami fourth. But we'll have to wait and see what kind of damage will be on the 72 car. As I imagine it will be a handful to drive. Especially if he's going to lose the ability to turn right here a little bit. But not that there's many right-hand turns. Actually, no, it'll be turning left that's his downfall, yeah. No, it will be turning right. All the corners are right. He hit the left side. I'm an idiot. Twice over. Oh, and it looks like Pizzicami's made a mistake trying to catch up to Crampton here. He's got the carrot dangling in the distance, and he was just pushing that a little bit too hard. Got into the gravel. So top five is Watson, Kraus, Crampton, Pizzicami, Hernandez. And then it's going to be Isaacson, Massio, Horton, Marquez, and Champeau filling out the rest of your top 10 positions. Of course, Corey Williamson is a DNS. And Chris Champeau has made it back out onto the track. There he is. Crampton still just trying to hold on to this third place here with the damage that he's got on the car. As through curve at the Grande, our leaders go once more. I think with this, we're going to go to a quick commercial break. So make sure you guys stay tuned. More racing action from the Output Racing League here for the TWRS 120 will be coming up shortly. Make sure you guys stay tuned. Now, as is always the case with these road course races, we threw to a commercial break and something happened. The 89 of Matt Horton going through what would be the second chicane, got it all wrong on exit, and went up into the fence a little bit. He's carrying a little bit of damage on this 89 car. Although it doesn't look too bad from the camera angles we got. But it'll just be maybe a little bit of mechanical damage maybe. The hit wasn't too terribly hard, but it definitely was probably a bit of a shock to his system. James Watson still leading the way by about 2.7 seconds over Kyle Kraus. Then a huge gap of about 5.8 back to TJ Crampton. But Brian Pizzakemi has been closing in on him. The gap here is only about a second now. So let's see what Brian Pizzakemi can do to catch up to the Speedway Memes Motorsports driver, TJ Crampton. They go through the first Lesmo. And now into the second. It's really hard to keep up with what the times are doing on road courses just because it fluctuates so much with braking zones and all that. But we'll be able to see the time difference as they come across the start-finish line. The one thing I can tell you is that Pizzakemi this lap has been consistently faster than Crampton, although he just made a mistake going into the Ascari chicane. Hit the inside curb just that little bit too hard and two-wheeled it a little bit, just about spun out into the gravel. Oh, and James Watson, our leader, has made a mistake. And now he has the 7 of Kyle Kraus all over him. It looks like he went deep going into the Parabolica. And that 2.5 second lead he had has shrunk down to nothing. We go through the curve at the Grande. We're going to keep an eye on our leaders here, because once you make one mistake, it overheats the tires and has the potential for more to happen. Let's see as they go through the first Lesmo. And it looks like he's got it back under control for the most part. Watson leads out through the second Lesmo down the back straight. Taking the little left-hand kink here before we go under the oval and back onto Ascari chicane. But Kyle Kraus has been the consistent driver here so far. I haven't seen him make a single mistake yet. Now leaders are also starting to close in on lap traffic. There's about 10 seconds up the road to Chris Champeau. And it looks like these guys are keeping it chill now. So we're going to go back to focusing on crashes. For the moment, it's keeping us on our leaders here. It's going to be a close battle. No, it's not. I thought Kraus was going to close up a little bit here, but he didn't. Seems like the draft isn't as powerful as I thought it would be with these cars. I mean, one would think with the way that they're shaped, they'd just be punching a big old hole in the air and you'd be able to close in very quickly, but that is not the case. As it looks like there was a little bit of a lock up there for Watson that time. Kyle Kraus is still in this battle. In fact, he's going to start closing in a little bit here, maybe. Somehow Crampton's still holding off Pizzakemi. And Jonathan Hernandez might actually be under threat from Frank Isaacson here. As I can see, Travis Masia is in the pits. Have a look at Travis's car here. Oh, and he's made contact with a wall somewhere. You see the right side damage on that car. That's not good for Travis. So he'll come in and get his service now. as we are just about at the halfway mark. Now, will these guys start coming into the pits, or will they continue on? It looks like continuing on. As now we've got 11 laps down and 11 laps to go. If you've got damage on your car, this would be the perfect time to pit. You can get the undercut on fresher tyres and get your service done. Although I think the overcut will probably be more the par for the course here. You see both of these cars on the absolute limit of brakes. Oh, wow. Chris Champeau was spun out in between the two Lesmos. He's still trying to get the car pointed straight. He's still on the racing line. That was dangerous. Let's see what happened to him here. So he's just going through the first Lesmo, all nice and calm. There's a tree in the way. Oh, he just pushed too hard, going too fast. Got it out into the grass and into the gravel and just spun out. He somehow managed to keep it off that inside wall, which is quite the feat in itself. But I bet he definitely gave our leaders a heart attack as they were coming around that first Lesmo and seen him sitting there sideways on the track. As now we've got just 10 laps to go. You see the different lines our two leaders are taking. James turning in very early, getting right to the apex as soon as he can. Whereas Kyle Kraus takes a very late apex and comes out of the corner a little bit straighter. So different ways of trying to make speed here. It's down into Ascari once more we go. Neither one of our leaders making a mistake there. Just getting through it nice and tidy. We've got 9 to go now. And still neither one of our leaders has pitted. It's also very possible that they won't need to pit at all. But we'll have to wait and see how that one's going to fold. The 13 of Travis Macias still in the pits. Obviously he's got a lot of damage that he's fixing there. Oh, and look at the speed that Kyle Kraus carried through that second chicane section. He is all over the tail of James Watson right now. Let's see what they do as they go through Ascari. Nothing really doing there. Ascari is one of the passing opportunities, but mostly in like GT cars and stuff like that. Looks like Watson's actually opened up the gap here a little bit coming out of Ascari. About a half a second coming into the Parabolica. And that's the way it's going to stand coming out of the Parabolica. You see both cars on edge going through Curva de Grande. Both of them pushing to get as much speed as they possibly can. Fastest lap of the race done by our leader, James Watson, a 35.313. And Carl Kraus must have made a mistake going through what would be that second chicane section, as he lost a couple of tenths going through there. Although James Watson is usually pretty strong in that particular section. But here we go into Ascari once more. And Watson's really just trying to extend this gap as much as he can. He knows if he gets out of draft range that it's all over for Kyle Kraus. Kraus is going to try and fight back as much as he can to close this gap. Start lap number 16. 7 laps left to run in this race. Go through Curva de Grande. You can actually see them getting a little bit loose. These guys will be absolutely sawing on the wheels. Now let's have a look from James's gyro cam here at his wheel work. In fact, that's not the right camera angle to do it. Let's do it this way. His helmet cam. Oh, big moment. He's gone. Our leader just made a mistake coming out of the second Lesmo, and Carl Kraus has now taken the lead. Can Crampton and Pizzakemi close in on our second place driver of Watson now? Was not expecting him to make a mistake while we're on board with him. And that's just absolutely blotted his copybook. The sponsor for today's race, and he just about hit the wall as well. Very lucky not to. Crampton and Pizzakemi did close in a lot, but they haven't really closed in enough. As now there is our new leader, Kyle Kraus. He has just 6 laps to go. So I think what we might do is we are going to go for another quick commercial break here, and when we come back we will be going to the checkered flag. So make sure you guys stay tuned. The end of the TWRS 120 here from the Monza Raceway will be coming up shortly, so make sure you guys stay tuned. And we are back here for the Team WRS 120 here from the Monza Raceway. Carl Kraus leading the way by 6 seconds Over our sponsor for today's racing, James Watson, who just before the break we saw make a mistake in the second Lesmo. We now look at Frank Isaacson, who is in P6. Went back to focusing on crashes just for a little bit. We have just 5 laps to go. Crampton and Pizzacchemi still battling it out here for the 3rd position. Pizzacchemi, one of those who did not qualify, up 6 positions from where he started. And Crampton up 1 by virtue of the mistake made from Chris Champeau, who is down 7. But all of our top 4 are in the the 1 minute 35 second bracket. Got a 35.4 for Kyle Kraus, got a 35.2 for James Watson, a 35.9 for Crampton, and a 35.8 for Pizzacchemi. As now we just have 4 laps to go, and Kraus is about to encounter some lap traffic. And just up the road from him is the 13 of Travis Massia, who was multiple laps down. Just 4.5 seconds up the road and closing. But with such a small amount of laps left in this race, I don't think that's really going to be a bother here for our leader, Kyle Kraus. And I also think that he's just mostly trying to focus on not making a mistake like Watson did. There's Crampton. He's another one who was in a very prominent position and made a mistake. Pizzacchemi, who usually chooses to start at the back of these races, I think he should have qualified. In fact, he might have tried, but probably made a mistake in qualifying, which is a very common occurrence around here. Our leader is about to round Parabolica. He's only going to have 3 laps left to run in this race. James Watson, he'll be absolutely kicking himself for making that one mistake that just ruined his lead. In fact, it's 2 mistakes. He made the first mistake in final corner, the Parabolica, which closed the gap. And that second mistake as he was going through the Lesmo. But there is our leader, Kyle Kraus, heading into the first of the 2 Lesmos. And he's just on cruise control mode at the moment. Just chilling out, doing some 35.5s. As he's encountering the lap traffic of Travis Massia. Oh, and Massia made a mistake in front of him. Went sideways, plowed into the fence. Oh, and you can see Massia's got a lot of damage on that 13 car. Let's ride on board with Kyle Kraus here. Let's have a look at his wheel movements here on the penultimate lap. He comes out of the Parabolica. It also gives you a chance to see what his revs are like. He's not over revving it. He's taking it nice and easy. And into the curve of the Grande. So he takes a slightly wider entry. They can stay in tight on the exit. And to what would normally be the second chicane. Really test the grip on the tyres. First Lesmo down to second gear. Second Lesmo staying in second gear. Now down the back straight, underneath the banked oval, and into the Ascari chicane. Second gear. Oh, he went a little bit deep there. Front tyres starting to fade on him. Now into the Parabolica he goes. And as he comes out of Parabolica, it's going to be white flag last lap. Last chance to win it or wear it. And with an 8.5 second lead, it's going to be hard for anyone to head him up unless he makes a mistake. So here we go into the Curva de Grande for the final time. Yeah, 8.5 second lead at the moment into the second chicane area. And he is cleanly through the first Lesmo. And he's going to be cleanly out of the second Lesmo. He's just only got 4 corners left to do. And then he will be crowned champion of Monza here for the Output Racing League. Under the banked oval for the final time. First half of Ascari is fine. The second half even better. Just kissing the curve on exit. That's how you know he's in cruise control mode. He's lost half a second to James Watson, just cruising. But when you have 8 seconds left in reserve, you know you're doing all right. As he comes out of Parabolica for the final time, your winner here at the Autodromo Nazionale Monza is going to be the 7 of Kyle Kraus. P2 goes the way of James Watson. And P3 is going to go the way of TJ Crampton, with 4th being Brian Pizzakemi. Now it's going to be a long time for Kraus to make it back around to the front so he can do his burnouts. Let's go check out the rest of the field as they're crossing the line. Here's the 88 Jonathan Hernandez. He'll come home in 5th. Then we go back to the 24, Frank Isaacson, who crosses in 6th. Behind him, Chris Champeau, who finishes a lap down in 9th. And the 89 of Matt Horton, he's going to cross the line in 7th. And then the last car that we're waiting to finish is going to be the 64, Jonas Marquez. Was just making his way through the Lesmos. Not the Lesmos, Ascari. And here he goes into the Parabolica for the final time. I don't think we're going to get a burnout from our winner. He's left the track. But that is the way that they've finished. These guys still racing after the flag. So we're going to go to a quick commercial break. When we come back, we will have driver interviews. So make sure you guys stay tuned. All right, guys, it is time for driver interviews, and as always, kick things off with our Autism Awareness Hard Charger Award winner. And today's Hard Charger is also today's winner, starting from third and finishing in first. It's the seven of Kyle Kraus. Kyle, fantastic win for you out there tonight in what is a very, very difficult track for these modern day NASCARs.
It was tough, Corey, but I tell you, it was a lot of fun. Those cars get a lot of speed going down that front stretch to the first turn, and then you just hold on for dear life through that first kind of half chicane. It was a lot of fun. Just as long as you get on the brakes early enough, you were good.
Yeah, it definitely looked like braking distance, especially with these cars being so big and cumbersome, is a bit of an issue. A few people locking up, especially James Watson. Oh, I feel bad for him. He had such a dominant lead, and then that first mistake into Parabolica, and you really closed in on him.
Yeah, I got lucky. I told myself I just got to keep it clean, try and keep the car on the track. Unfortunately, the guys in front of me had issues, and I was able to take advantage of it. I thought maybe I might be able to get James when he went off in Parabolica, but he got back on quick enough that I couldn't quite catch him. But I just kept it as tight as on his bumper as I could, and was hoping for him to go off again.
All right, now let's talk about the race as a whole. Of course, when it comes to road course racing, generally we get a no pit strategy, which usually works out to be the best. So, what was the tire life like coming in towards the end? Because we rode on board with you for the penultimate lap. It looked like you were struggling a little bit for some front end grip.
No, I was just taking it easy because I didn't want to mess up because I had such a gap on James that I could kind of go a little bit easier and make sure that I didn't have any issues. I was running consistent laps the whole race. The tires really didn't fall off very much at all, and the race was like one lap shorter than a fuel load, so just didn't need to pit.
All right, now let's look forward towards next week, Kyle. As I bring up the right tab. We are going to be going to the Milwaukee Mile. So, what's the feeling like for you as we head from one of the best international circuits on iRacing to Milwaukee?
Milwaukee's a fun track. I have a bad habit of burning off the right front there, so I'm not sure how well I'll do. But we got another setup coming in from Team Watson Racing Setups, so I'm looking forward to trying that out and seeing how it is. Should be a fun race.
All right, Kyle, before we let you go here tonight, anyone you want to give a quick shout out to?
Yeah, everybody that showed up. This is a bit of a oddball track for us on the schedule this week, but thanks to everyone that came out. It was a lot of fun. Thanks to everyone that puts on the league, and thanks Corey to you for the broadcast.
All right, Kyle, thank you very much for coming out tonight. Congratulations on your win and your Hard Charger Award. And we look forward to seeing what you can do next week when we head into Milwaukee.
Thanks, Corey.
All right, guys, that was tonight's winner and the Hard Charger Award winner. Of course, the seven of Kyle Kraus. Coming up next, we are going to have our second place getter. And tonight's second place is also the sponsor for tonight's race. Of course, it is the 39 of James Watson. James, a couple of tiny little mistakes, and it all went wrong for you, mate.
Yeah, I'm gutted, man. I threw this one away multiple times. This just hurts, man. This was like my one chance to get a win on the schedule. I don't really have the pace to really win with the rest of these behemoths. So this was my one opportunity to get a win and that winless streak. And yeah, I choked.
Let's talk about just the way that the car was on the track. The setup that was provided was a really good setup, but it definitely seemed like braking distances were a bit of an issue for some drivers, especially some of the lesser experienced ones. What was it like for you out there? And also, what was it like just trying to navigate such an iconic track in these NASCARs?
Yeah, it's really difficult. This car can be really unpredictable at times. It behaves in ways you can't even hope to predict and figure out, and just sometimes when you least expect it, it bites you.
All right, now let's look forward towards next week, James. Going to be going to the Milwaukee Mile with another setup provided by Team Watson Racing Setups. What's the feeling like for you as we head into Milwaukee?
Personally, it's gonna be a struggle. I've never liked that place, never done well there. It's gonna be difficult. For sure. Like that place is as flat as you can get. So, trying to work the car and work the tires is gonna be difficult. Thankfully, our setup for everyone should mitigate a lot of that. But yeah, it's definitely a short track. That's not for the faint of heart.
All right, James. Before we let you go here tonight, mate, anyone you want to give a quick shout out to?
Yes, sir. Got to thank everyone at Team Watson Racing Setups. Thank Kenny Coppola for putting together the setups for everyone here. Use code WATSPIN39 for 10% off a checkout. I got to thank Chris Graham and the National Racing Network, ZS Designs, for doing my schemes. This particular one was done by Kyle Holden. In fact, if you want this scheme, we actually have a template for it on sale on the Team Watson Racing website, so you can pick that up. I gotta thank Martin Sports Sim Racing Apparel. I got Team Watson Racing gloves. We even got new Team Watson Racing hats, so that's cool. And you, as always, for broadcasting.
All right, thank you very much for coming out, James. Congratulations on coming home P2, although it probably should have
Thank
been a
you.
win. And we look forward to seeing you again next week at Milwaukee.
Cheers. See you
All right,
next week.
guys, that was our second place getter and the sponsor for tonight and next week's racing, Mr. James Watson. Coming up next, we have a Speedway Memes Motorsports driver who probably should have also have been in contention to win this race, but one small mistake and it all went wrong. Of course, it is the 72 of TJ Crampton. TJ, seeing the battling for the lead positions, just pushed that little bit too hard and it all went wrong for you, mate.
Yeah, missed Ascari and uh, had a very unfortunate bounce. While my car was going through the sand and stuff, it started bouncing really bad. It happened to land right on one of those black and white, yellow sausage curbs, and it bent the rear left toe link. So the right hand turns was not fun from basically like lap 4 on. Like
It definitely
it bent
sounds
it
like
so bad.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like you had your hands full the whole race, but you're still able to somewhat keep up with the pace of the leaders and hold off Brian Pizzakemi at the same time.
Yeah. Towards the end, I had to kind of slow down a little bit because I was at the incident limit. I was at 16 out of 17x, and if I got one more incident point, I would have got a black flag and had to come down pit road. So I had to take it easy the last 5 to 8 laps, and um, luckily we were able to keep it on the racetrack and bring it home for the Speedo Memes Motorsports crew.
All right, now let's look forward towards next week, TJ. Going to be going to the Milwaukee Mile. What's the feeling like for you as we head into Milwaukee?
It's gonna be interesting. Flat track, gonna be probably like New Hampshire, so the car's gonna be really loose. Don't know, never tried to set up for there. So it's gonna be interesting. Very excited though. Love Milwaukee, and hopefully we can put on a good finish for uh, you, uh, I can't speak at Milwaukee.
All right, thank you very much for coming out, TJ. Congratulations on coming home P3, and we look forward to seeing you again next week in Milwaukee.
Thank you.
All right, guys, that is going to wrap things up for us here tonight. Thank you very much for coming out. Um, it was definitely an interesting kind of race here tonight with the road course on selection. But until next week, when we go to Milwaukee, I've been your commentator, the Aussie Sim commentator. We'll see you guys next week.